So welcome everybody to the Spiritual Frontiers Fellowship. Tonight we have with us Bernie Ashman with the Astrological Cycles and Renewal for Inspired Goals for 2025. Glad everybody's here. Welcome to the Spiritual Frontiers presentation. If you've been here before, welcome. And if you've not been here before, welcome back. We're glad to have you, and we've got a really good speaker, and I think that shows with how many people we've got registered. It's just unbelievable, and I hope more and more come. So my name is Smith Prim. I'm the co-chairman for the Spiritual Frontiers Fellowship, along with Catherine Smart. Catherine is also our writer and editor. Kim is our media director, and Eileen Jenna is the program coordinator. So Kim is involved in pulling together the recording and putting it on YouTube. So this will be available on YouTube within, I think it's 2 weeks that we put it up there. And Eileen is responsible for bringing us the quality speakers like the one we have tonight, Bernie. Let's see, what else? So our program is being recorded. So we think that you're going to enjoy tonight's program, and we're recording it. But if you don't want to be recorded in any way, just please turn off your microphone until the question and answer time. But please turn off your video if you don't want to be recorded in any way. Let's see what else. So before we get started, I usually like to begin with a 3-breath meditation that helps us pull away from whatever's been happening in our day up to now so that we can bring our focus into this meeting and to the speaker. And I found it very effective. It's helpful for bringing your focus to where we are. So if you could join me, and again, make sure that your microphone is turned off. That's great. We're going to start with the first breath, and if you'll just gently close your eyes and just take one breath in. And when you release that breath, just release any other extraneous problems or issues that you may have had with today, and just let it float out into space. And on the second breath, breathe in love and light, and bring it into your heart, and bring it into your body and your mind. And when you exhale that breath, let go of anything else that you may be thinking about other than this meeting and the people involved and what we're about to hear. And on the third breath, bring in all love and light and let it just fill your whole body and your mind, and then we'll be there. And exhale. All right. Tonight, I'm thrilled to introduce Bernie Ashman. He's our annual speaker for this year's astrology review, what to expect in 2025. He is the name of his presentation tonight is 2025 Astrological Cycles and for Renewal and Inspired Goals. So, we're all about how to be positive. I've listened to astrology so much in these last years and weeks coming up to 2025, and there's all kinds of information out there, as you know, if you do any of that. And I'm glad to have Bernie with us tonight. So I wanted to talk about, just highlight for a minute, a couple of things that he'll be talking about. Tonight, he'll be talking about new relationships and relocations. If you're looking for new friendships, a soulmate, or a fresh start in a peaceful, growth-filled location, 2025 offers abundant opportunities. So that's one of the areas. There's a focus on Saturn in Aries. And if you've followed astrology, and probably wouldn't be here if you haven't, Saturn, the planet of structure and career, enters the fiery Aries, encouraging boldness and perseverance to achieve our dreams. While patience may be tested, determination will lead to success. So that's going to be a great aspect to focus on. Neptune in Aries. As Neptune, the planet of intuition and healing, moves into Aries, it brings inspiration to pursue spiritual growth and new dreams. That's excellent. Pluto into Aquarius. Pluto's long-term presence in Aquarius invites us to release what no longer serves us, embrace a sense of rebirth. Uranus in Gemini, mental stimulation, and also the magical nodes of the moon. So I'm going to leave it at that point. I usually don't want to take too much time. I want to give Bernie all the time he has, because he's got a lot to present to us tonight. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Bernie, and welcome.
Thank you. Oh, it's great to see so many people here tonight. People I've known for quite a while, and some a little bit newer. 2025. I had a hard time really naming this. I think Catherine might even remember that. But I had to pick a title of some kind. And maybe you've heard that Rolling Stone song, Ruby Tuesday. It goes something like, Ruby Tuesday, who can hang a name on you? And I was having a heck of a time hanging a name on 2025. It's got so many different features in it. I've been doing this a long time, as some of you know. I got into this in 1973 because of a book by a Frenchman, Dane Rudyard, great writer, astrologer. And he once said, astrology is a language. If you understand this language, you can read the sky. And I've been doing this now for so many years, and I've been looking ahead at the different planetary cycles for years, starting with 1974. I've never seen one like this. I'm not making this up. This is so unusual to have so many outer planets changing signs, and I'll get into that. It's really unusual to have Pluto in Aquarius. Last time it was in Aquarius, believe it or not, was 1778 through 1798. The United States was just trying to learn how to walk at that time and form a country. And then there was a French Revolution back then. But this is a different Pluto. I really want to emphasize that. Sometimes Pluto isn't exactly interpreted the way I would. Astrology is really an art as well as a science. I have to emphasize that. Sometimes I think it's even more of an art now that I've gotten into it for so many years. It's just like if you looked at a painting somebody did, and you'd see one interpretation of it, and somebody else would have an interpretation of it. Could even be a husband and wife sitting there having a whole different type of interpretation going on. So when I look at somebody's chart even, I feel like sometimes I'm looking at a painting. That's the outline, the chart, and I just go from there to interpret it. So I've got a few notes in front of me so I could keep my head straight tonight, and you'll think maybe I do know what I'm talking about. So anyway, this year is really customized. Sometimes I think the universe customizes certain years so each one of us will get what we need. And I think that's what we've got going on here. I have an archetype for Pluto in Aquarius called the ally. It's almost like a lighthouse. If you're out in stormy seas, you might need this lighthouse. I don't know, you might read different interpretations of Pluto online. I have a real evolutionary take on Pluto. This is an evolutionary growth year like I've never seen before. It doesn't mean the other years weren't, or people figured out how to do it anyway. But I remember when I first was talking about this to somebody at Spiritual Frontiers, I think it was Catherine Smart, I said, it's almost like you can't miss bumping into evolutionary growth this year. It's everywhere. I'm going to talk about 6 major portals tonight that you can go through. The first one is Pluto in Aquarius, because this is like a new era. I even called it a new age reboot. If people were just coming in to like new age type thinking this year, it'd be quite a ride. I mean, what a time to come into it. If you're a practitioner of some sort in any metaphysical art, or if you're an artist of some sort, you're going to see there's quite a bit of opportunity in the way these cycles are going to manifest. With Pluto and Aquarius, I talked about synchronicity. Carl Jung talked about synchronicity. He called it meaningful coincidences. You've probably experienced some of these already in your life. Maybe you wonder how you ran into something that you needed to know at that particular time. Maybe you met somebody by total surprise. There's going to be a lot of surprises this year in more than one planet offering that. So this should be quite a quite a year, and I think we're going to have quite a lot of experiences. You may have some questions at the end, and I'll do my best to answer those. So sometimes what I do with the outer planets, just to illustrate them, I'll go ahead. It's funny you opened up with the breathing tonight. I actually had an example of a breathing process with the outer planets, and I'll make it quick. Jupiter is the largest one out there. All the other planets could fit into it. So it's like taking a big Buddha belly breath, fill up your belly. Now that I'm older, I've got a bigger belly. But anyway, it's taking a bigger belly breath and letting it out kind of spontaneously. Uranus is more excitement when you're really surprised by a total change of some kind. It's like hyperventilation, total excitement. Saturn is like taking a breath and holding it for a month. It just goes through so many different parts of us, all different parts of our DNA, all of our chakras that we have. Pluto, it's like taking a breath and holding it for 3 months. Sometimes people feel that way. I have. I remember one time it went over my sun sign in the 1990s, and it really turned me upside down, but it was quite an experience of rebirth. Pluto is really a rebirthing planet. It eliminates very often what we don't need anymore. The other one would be Neptune. Neptune is like you're meditating and you just forget you're breathing. Or maybe you've just seen a beautiful sunrise and it just takes your total breath away. You don't even realize you need to breathe. I know when I got into yoga in the 1970s, I didn't even realize I wasn't even breathing right. So that was illuminating in itself. But anyway, these planets all can manifest in so many different ways. There's a lot of different ways to interpret them. Pluto itself in Aquarius is kind of interesting. If you think about it, Pluto is how we process life. It's a deep processing planet. Aquarius wants to go forward. So you're getting kind of an interesting mix here with Pluto and Aquarius. If you're taking, say, too long to process, Aquarius is going to kick in and want to get you moving. So remember, this is a 20-year cycle, and it may take some time to understand how it's going to manifest all around the world, this particular cycle. There's so much going on now in the digital world. I know some of you out there, I noticed one name up here tonight, my friend Ezra. Some of you are really into digital kind of businesses. You're going to have quite a time this year. Aquarius rules electronics, all that kind of AI. Pluto is a problem-solving planet. So if you put those two together, how you can actually use, say, AI, if you use it the right way, or any kind of digital to help people, those kind of businesses should really flourish this year, I would think. This is quite an inventive cycle, Pluto in Aquarius. Pluto has to do with the cellular structure of the human body. Aquarius rules invention. Sometime during this Pluto in Aquarius cycle, I am sure there's going to be a cure for many illnesses, cancer, and you could probably go down a list of some that you would even think of. But there's going to be so many ways that there'll be cures for illnesses. It may not happen this year because this is just the first of 20 years. But this should be quite a fabulous cycle. Aquarius is the air element. In astrology, there's fire, there's earth, there's air, and there's water. Aquarius happens to be one of the air signs. Air has to do with perception. Pluto has to do with depth. So some really deep perceptions can manifest at any time under this particular cycle. If you start moving this year, you feel a little frustrated with the direction you're going in, don't get too anxious. I even made a note to myself. I said, don't rush to any conclusions about this year too fast. Don't panic. Um, there's a lot here. If you are trying to do something on the business end, here's the interesting thing about Pluto. It has to do with a rebirthing process, a great problem-solving planet. It's our passion for life, for different experiences, and it's a business planet. Sometimes people will get better at how to market what they know how to do. Groups, like the one I'm speaking at tonight, might benefit from a marketing person. I could just foresee some businesses will hire more marketing people just to get the best out of all the energy you put into this. It takes a lot of energy to even have a group like this. I've been speaking at these events for, I think, over 30 years at one time or another during those decades. And I know how much people have to put into this to keep this group going. So, so Pluto is a big deal. It's one of those rare things to happen. My parents were born with Pluto in an air sign back in the, my dad was born around 1908. My mother around 1910 with Pluto in Gemini. And I'm telling you, they were deep thinkers, both of them. And I probably learned a lot from being raised by them. Pluto in an air sign, these kids, excuse me, that are being born right now are going to have Pluto in Aquarius. And this, it's going to be really interesting to see how they develop. Aquarius is a very independent-minded sign. So whether you feel like you're not that way, you're probably going to find you may just be a bit more unconventional in certain ways in the way you think. A lot of people here tonight are already that way anyway. So there's a lot in store just from Pluto in Aquarius. Excuse me. So I mentioned there were 6 portals to think about. This is portal 1. It started really, Pluto moved into its 20-year cycle on November 19th of 2024, and it will extend that long. The second one that I was going to bring up was the nodes of the moon. My friend Carmen is here tonight, my co-author of, we did this book, Astrology's Magical Nodes of the Moon. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Releasing the past and embracing the future. The nodes of the moon are like the cousins of the moon. They're related to the moon in their own way. In your birth chart, you're going to see these symbols. There's a north node and a south node. The north node looks like a pair of headphones in your birth chart. The south node looks like an upside down pair of headphones. They're really probably, in my opinion, one of the strongest pulls to bring us into this incarnation. Believe me, we came here for this year. I was going to say tonight, on the soul level, before we even incarnated, we got a glimpse of this year, and we knew our soul was just jumping up and down for joy, because this has an awful lot to do with soul growth. If you want to get closer to your soul, our soul wants to get more intimate with us this year. That's what the North Node in Pisces is going to show. And we're right around the corner from it. It starts on January 11th, 2025. When the nodes move into a new sign, they stay in it for 18 months. So it'll be in this sign until July, late July of 2026, it'll be in Pisces. The North Node returns to the same sign about every 19 years. This is a big deal. If you're a healer, if you're in any kind of healing business, massage, um, touch kind of healing, whatever kind of healer you may be, even if you're not a healer, say you want to go get healed, the universe is sending a blast of healing energy through these nodes of the moon. If you're having a surgery this year, chances are you're going to heal a lot quicker because of the North Node being in Pisces. They always travel together, the North Node and the South Node. They're always opposite each other in the sky. The South Node is in the sign Virgo. I probably watched too many detective shows over the years, or something like SEAL Team, a military show, and you hear them say, watch your six. Well, the South Node is the six of the North Node. They work together. They're both healing kind of signs. Pisces, I wrote down some archetypes for it: the healer, the intuitive, the artist, the dreamer. It's going to bump up our imagination in a big way. You know, we have a left brain, we have a right brain. Our right brain is that more intuitive flow, how we get in touch with that intuition we have. Nothing wrong with the left brain, otherwise we'd be bumping into things all the time. We wouldn't know where to put things. Things that belong in the refrigerator, we might forget to do it. We need a left brain to analyze with. But if you're stuck in your left brain, you're going to miss a lot, because the right brain has a lot to do with imagination. Pisces has a lot to do with that type of experience, the part of us that's imaginative, that's intuitive. So this is another really important cycle that's going to go on starting, we're right around the corner from it. What is this, January 2nd? In 9 days, this is going to start, and you may feel it. Some of you may have these nodes in your birth chart. It would just, you say, accentuate that experience for you. Even if you don't, I don't have them. I have a different set of nodes, but it still can mean an awful lot from the things that I'm talking about here. Your creative levels, whatever kind of creativity you do, say you're just at home trying out a new recipe, you may have just intuitively come up with something else to put in it. I mean, it could be on any way you want to use this stuff. Your own healing energy could be stronger. I wrote this book with with Carmen Turner-Schott, fabulous writer, great astrologer, and great to write with. We're starting a second book pretty soon. Carmen, are you able to talk?
Hi, Bernie.
You want to add, Carmen wrote the North Node in Pisces section of the book. You want to just make a few comments?
Sure. So, for those that are Virgos out there, Virgo energy is all about service, helping others, serving others in some way. It's also a very perfectionistic sign. They can be very hard on themselves, very critical, have high standards, health focused, interested in routine and structure and organization and efficiency and all these kind of energies. And so there's really going to be a pull, I feel, when these nodes shift coming up into Pisces, like Bernie said, because we're going to have to learn to balance the practical world with the spiritual world. And so, to me, Pisces is idealistic and imaginative and creative, but also very into connecting to a higher power and different states of consciousness and all of these, what's the purpose of my life kind of energy. And then we have to learn to be in the world, but also not of the world. So these nodes are really going to challenge us in our day-to-day practical duties, like what we have to actually get up, eat, sleep, pay our bills, take care of people, and balance that with seeking a connection to a higher power and a oneness with God and having faith and not worrying so much like a Virgo does. So it's going to be this having faith and trust and not getting trapped into trying to control things like Virgos like to do. I'm a Virgo stellium, so I can talk a little bit about how Virgos are. So I'm always, learning to embrace my polar opposite Pisces. But these nodes, in the book when we talked about it, I call these the nodes of service. So it's really about, what is practical service, what is spiritual service, and learning to balance that during these next 18 months. Because what we just came out of, or what we're getting ready to come out of, guys, is the Aries Libra nodes, like Bernie said. And we've been very focused on relationships. Relationship karma has been a big pattern the past 18 months. And you can see it, in your family and your work relationships, with coworkers, with loved ones, with your marriage, your partner. There's been just a lot of learning how to compromise, learning how to speak up and use your voice and be a little bit selfish about what you want, but also having to learn to compromise with other people. So we're moving out of that and into these Pisces Virgo nodes, which are very healing. But there's also going to be, I think, more of a focus, like Bernie said, on diet and health and medicine. And I think it'll kind of play into the Pluto and Aquarius, like, different, innovations that are going to be created to treat different illnesses. And, Virgo rules the 6th house of health, of diet, of routine. And then Pisces rules the 12th house of escapism, solitude, oneness with God, being a spiritual being and finding our soul purpose. So we're going to really be balancing a lot more. I think the really boring parts of life is Virgo. To me, it's 6th house. Like, it's things that I don't like to do, like do the dishes, keep your house clean, all those basic things. And then we're going to be pulled towards Pisces, which is like, I don't want to worry about paying my bills. I don't want to worry about all of these heavy material duties. I want to really serve people in a spiritual way. And I want to just do my spiritual work, and serve people in that way. So we're going to be in this balance. It's like a seesaw, balancing those two energies. But that's kind of how I explain it. So I hope that's helpful.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. That was terrific. Yeah. And just be careful with perfection if you're working on something, whatever it is. If you got a job you're doing around the house, if you're working on editing a book or whatever it might be, you don't have to make it totally perfect. The Virgo side of this will try to catch it and maybe just catching not to go too far with that. Then again, you don't want to worry too much about the outcome of situations. That's another thing about these nodes. Make sure you celebrate. This is a year to celebrate. If you got a great relationship, celebrate it. If you're looking for a new one, be open to it. There's a lot of love in Pisces nodes, finding it. Soulmate, finding a soulmate, finding a partner that would really make you happy. So, and if you're already in that, make sure you make enough time to really celebrate. In some ways, this is like the roaring 20s, the 1920s. This year, it's wild. And a lot of celebration should really happen. So have some fun. That's what I keep telling myself. Because, after you've written so many books and you've done software projects and all these other things, there still needs to be some time to enjoy yourself. Even if you have to take a day here and there to just make the time, quality time is what I would say is really important. So it's an important second portal to really go into. Even if you're in the digital world, your imagination could really be turned on by this thing, by this particular group of nodes. So it was wonderful to write the book with Carmen. The Astrology's Magical Nodes of the Moon just got released in the last 5 months. I'll move on to number 3. the third portal. Um, that would be Jupiter. Um, Jupiter is more of a fun-loving planet. It's lighter than some of the others. Jupiter has been in Gemini since May of 2024. It will be in Gemini until around June 9th when it switches into the sign Cancer. Right now, I call the archetype for Jupiter the Navigator. It's great for traveling on the mental and the physical levels. Um, I said, stay open to new ideas. Definitely think positive. Remember Buddha. Um, I have this book at home. It's called Where Cats Meditate. We've always had cats. And in it, there's a quote from Buddha. It just says, be vigilant, guard your mind against negative thoughts. There's times this year you're going to have to turn off the noise. There's going to be so much of it this year. This is like Pluto in Aquarius is a noisy kind of movement in the sky. So sometimes you're going to have to just tune out some of the noise going on around you, because there's so many wonderful highways to take. 6 of them that I'm naming, and even in these 6, there's nuances. You could say there's other little roads you could take within them. You'll discover. I'm giving you kind of the big picture in this talk I'm doing tonight. But Jupiter and Gemini is just fantastic. A friend of mine, Sherry Dillard's doing a workshop on February 1st about trying to raise your vibration. And I told her that you picked the perfect time to do it. Jupiter and Gemini is a great teaching tool. If you're doing any kind of teaching, if you're doing any kind of being on a podcast, however you're communicating, if you're at work and you need to communicate, Jupiter and Gemini is wonderful for that. It's wonderful travel, for getting away if that's something you want to do. Jupiter and Gemini is a restless kind of placement for Jupiter. It's at home in Gemini because Jupiter likes to talk, and Gemini is really good for talking. So if you find yourself, say you have a partner that doesn't talk a whole lot, and you are a talker, and Jupiter's in Gemini, you're probably trying to get them to talk more because you need to know what's going on inside their head, maybe. So it's a very curious placement for Jupiter. Jupiter in Gemini likes options. So it's great for invest in just getting into new kinds of learning material. I've always found Jupiter is going to shift into Cancer June 9th of 2025. And when Jupiter shifts into a new sign, it stays in it for around a year. Some people have mentioned to me they were thinking about relocating, whether they do it before this placement or maybe they won't. But Jupiter in Cancer, for a lot of people, may have to do with, it could be moving into a new house. It could be changing the house around you're in. Just wanted to fit in a different kind of way to where you are now. I also put in here past life memories. It could be, sometimes when an outer planet, even Jupiter, moves into the sign Cancer. Cancer is a water sign. It has to do with our roots, our family. If we have a family, it could be with the pets we love. It could be cats, it could be dogs. Some people have horses, whatever that might be. It also can take you back into other lifetimes. When I first started doing charts, within the first year, I started interpreting charts way back when in the 1970s. When I saw those nodes of the moon, and I looked at somebody's chart, I really felt like I was looking at somebody's, not just this lifetime, but several lifetimes. Jupiter in Cancer can be traveling a bit backward, like memories of some sort. You could even get pulled to locations you haven't even been to in this lifetime, but you want to go to. Maybe one time you lived in Greece in a past life and you're pulled to go travel to Greece. Um, you don't even know why you want to go there. I have a feeling I probably lived in Hawaii in a past lifetime, and I couldn't help but wanting to be there for a whole winter back in the 70s. And my wife and I got married there in the 80s. So sometimes you're just going to feel a connection to a place. You probably know what ley lines are, LEY, that travel under the earth and around the world. Um, they're really getting electrified by Pluto being in Aquarius, the electric sign. So it could be places you once lived are starting to speak to you, trying to draw you back. Some people may be thinking more about their growing up years, um, rethinking them, just reprocessing them. Stuff like that can possibly happen. Um, Jupiter is a philosophical planet. And when it's in a water sign, sometimes it gets really meditative. So when it first shifts into Cancer, if you, for some reason, feel like you need more time to yourself that first week or two, it could be pulling you that way, just to because you want to process what's going on at a certain point in time. But there's nothing wrong with Jupiter in Cancer. I'm sure you'll figure your own way how you might find you want to use it. Cancer is a very intuitive sign. The water signs you may know are Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. Um, and this could even bring out, a certain amount of intuition for some ideas you have about some plans you may have for the future. So when I the that would be number three. The fourth one is actually Saturn shifting into Aries. When Saturn moves into a new sign, it hasn't been in that sign for approximately 28 to 29 years. Maybe you've heard the term Saturn return. That's when Saturn goes all the way around the chart and comes back to where it was when we were born. Um, Usually it's a real defining time of period. For all of us with Saturn in Aries, it could be that it'll be a reality check when that one starts. It actually begins right around May 24th, and it'll be there until September 1st this year. It's just visiting us for a brief time period in 2025. 2026 is going to come back for about 2 years. That starts in February 14th. I know I'm throwing a lot of dates at you. Probably the main thing to remember is that during late May into the beginning of September, Saturn is going to be in Aries. Saturn is a reality check kind of planet. It has to do with just sometimes just looking at where we are at that point in time. If you're thinking about a new project and you're a little afraid to do it, sometimes that's how people sometimes will feel when Saturn's first going into Aries. I always like that Tom Petty song, I Won't Back Down. And you may have to push yourself a little bit, or the universe may push you to just move forward. Funny thing about 2025, with Pluto in Aquarius and even Saturn in Aries, it's like revealing more of ourselves to the world can happen through just the creative process that we might manifest. We might get to know ourselves on a deeper level. Sometimes you can really get to the point, maybe you've found this yourself, you can just think, well, God, I don't know if I want to go any deeper. I keep trying to grow more and more. you could be surprised this year. It could just be a slight tweak to see something a little bit different. So Saturn sometimes is slowing down, hitting the brakes. Aries is totally different, though. You may know it's sort of like a daredevil sign. It's like, I need to push forward. I need to be really assertive and just not worry about the consequences. Just go forth. Just take it out there. Sometimes I've done some projects, I wondered how people would react. Um, Even the publishing company, I thought, would they think I've lost my mind? There's a book we're putting up for raffle tonight, um, Sun Signs and Past Lives. And it has a subtitle, Your Soul's Evolutionary Path. And I used a technique in that book called a decan, D-E-C-A-N, where a sign can be divided into three parts. And I divided them into these three parts to tap into the past lives in that sun sign. And I thought, God, will Llewellyn think I'm nuts? They thought it was terrific. So sometimes you just have to take that step. It's been a very successful book, to just see if how the world will react, and just sometimes you just can't worry about it, don't you think? So I just wanted to point out Saturn and Aries. I put an archetype on there, embodying boldness. There's a lot of drive in Saturn and Aries. It's a business type of placement. Saturn is a career planet, business planet. And some businesses are just going to get started under Saturn and Aries. Some that have already started may want to push a little bit, and even in a new direction under Saturn and Aries, just take a risk. They might want to join forces with another company even, just to see if that'll maybe improve both companies. I started to say with Pluto and Aquarius, you can interpret it as the individuality we have, but it also is connected to groups like this one. And some groups may wind up at times uniting with another group to put on a bigger conference or something like that. The astrology conferences, sometimes three groups get together to put on an international one, but I can see more groups doing that just to reach more people. There's a lot more people wanting to come in to learn about new age type thinking this year. They're going to flood in here. If you're thinking about having a business in the new age, this would be a great year for it. People are hungry right now. They want to know more on the soul level. They just want to know more how to get the deepest experience they can have. I'm running into that a lot with clientele. So, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, but it's going to be a big year for that. And I think it's terrific. It's sort of like a Renaissance year. When I said it was like the 1920s, this is more like a Renaissance year of a whole bunch of new activities. So, patience. I'll tell you, if you're a fiery guy like me, didn't come easy in the early days. As I got wiser and older, it got a little bit easier. Patience is required sometimes when Saturn goes into Aries, because sometimes people want to dig up the seed at that time and say, God, it's just not growing. What I thought was going to happen. Don't get too frustrated when Saturn goes into Aries. Sometimes it's just a test to see if we'll keep going. So that's like I said, May 24th is when that cycle starts. This year, it only goes till about September 1st. So it can be very productive, though, when Saturn is in a fire sign, because Saturn is like an earth giant and Aries is a fire sign. So they can work well together to get some things done. If you're thinking about taking on any other project in your house, that can happen. Saturn is a real estate kind of planet. So it could actually have to do with the real estate you own at the same time. If you're trying to fix something, it can be time to really take it on in May into September. It could launch something like that. Say you have to close a deal with somebody. Say a friendship or a relationship has just exhausted you to a point you can't go on anymore. Saturn is one of the biggest closers of the zodiac. You may find at that time, maybe it's a job, you need to change it because it's just taken too much out of you. Or it's a business, you may defer more of it out to somebody else. It will make you think about how you're doing business in the world when Saturn shifts into Aries. So that's another one of those portals I'm talking about where you can really go into and get a lot out of. Here's another one. There's a lot of them this year. Here's another outer planet that's going to change signs. Uranus. I call Uranus the synchronicity planet. When all those synchronicity experiences can manifest, I call the archetype for it altered perceptions. I have a book at home by Marianne Williamson I bought years ago. Only reason why I bought it, I wanted to know what she meant by a miracle. And in the first few pages, she defined it as an altered perception. Uranus is in Gemini, really can bring that into your life. Say you're a counselor and you're working with clients, you may find that they're more open to new growth, accepting altered perceptions. Maybe I need another one that I didn't even know I needed. That starts July 7th, 2025. This year, it goes from July 7th through 11/8/25. It's rare for Uranus to go back into a sign. I was born in 1947 with Uranus in Gemini. It was in Gemini in the 1940s. Remember back in the 1940s that computers got off the ground? It was like the old days. You would call those computers like dinosaurs now. It didn't take long for it to keep moving to a different type of technology. In the 1950s, it got a little bit different. In the 60s, my first computer for astrology software was in the mid 80s. It was a Commodore 64, and I thought I was big stuff. Little did I know it was going to go to Windows. It was like shock. So, and it didn't take long for that to happen. And this is like, you could say Uranus and Gemini is going to accelerate electronic growth. It doesn't have to just be AI, but it could be any kind of communication. It could be there could be a whole new communication come in that somebody hasn't even thought of yet. They can say, well, AI is old. I've got a new one. Any of this crazy stuff could happen as far as, the digital world is going to be really like a frontier over these years to come. It already is, really. If you don't like too much digital, I can get exhausted by it after a while. So sometimes I just need to get away from it and just cool out and get back to just a more flowing, meditative, maybe day where I just need to stretch and do some yoga or something. So make sure you stay grounded as you start this year. Jupiter is rituals. If you've got your favorite rituals that you go to when you need to feel better, don't forget about them, because you may be upset about something you hear on the news. If even if you hear about news on a computer or you turn on the television, and these experiences are very uplifting this year. they're trying to take us in some ways out of time and space. It's different this year. I don't know if I can really say that enough. Uranus in Gemini is a big deal. When I invented a past life chart in the year 2000, I was asked to write a past life software, the interpretations for a past life software program by a company in Michigan called Matrix Software. At that time, they were one of the biggest software of astrology programs. So I'm sitting there with my outline in front of my computer, and I'm looking at it, and my chart is just to the left of it. And I'm going, that outline is flat as hell. There's something wrong with it. Then I look at my chart, and I had one of those out-of-body experiences. I saw a past life chart inside of my regular traditional chart. And I put that in the outline. And I thought they'd probably tell me to go away. Like, man, I think you've gotten too out there. They loved it. As a matter of fact, they jumped right on it. And they sold so many of them. And they weren't going to do a computer chart, a copy of a chart to go with it, because they had to do new logarithms. Because in this chart, the 12th house becomes the ascendant, if you know anything about astrology and the houses. And it goes, instead of going clockwise, it actually I'm sorry, instead of going counterclockwise, it's a clockwise house system. It's like a retrograde house system. I discovered that when Uranus bumped into my 12th house, right on it. And the 12th house is like the mothership of intuition in a birth chart. I was totally surprised that happened. I had no idea that was going to happen, even though I knew Uranus was coming toward that sensitive zone in my chart. So that's what Uranus can do. This is a big deal, Uranus in Gemini. Some of you are going to absolutely love it. Any kind of communication you go, it's going to take it into like a new level, a different type of experience. You're going to find the marketing of what you're doing on the digital level is easier to sell. You may find if you're trying to market something, whether even if it's art, music, digital, you're writing a book about whatever you're writing a book about. If you take a look at this is what I did with some of these things I sold to a publisher. I looked at what they didn't have, and I thought, where could I fit into it with something new that they don't have? You're going to see it so clearly under Uranus and Gemini what people need. You may already be doing it this year because the inventive side of Pluto and Aquarius, I'm not exaggerating. That's a big deal. Pluto has a real depth in it, and Aquarius is that inventiveness. I noticed somebody named, I believe it was Cully Harrell. I don't know if she's here tonight, but she was doing a workshop at the beginning of this year on how to leave something, how she was going to do a talk on Zoom, how to leave stuff behind that we no longer need. This is also happening with Pluto in Aquarius. The reason why you want to leave certain things behind so you can move forward. This is a forward moving year in a big way. Pluto is an eliminator of what we don't need. Be careful with one thing. If you notice the stuff you're getting rid of from within you, do not over-identify with it and think that's you. Don't let it pull you down. It's necessary so something else can be put into you, can fill you up. I found even sometimes, when I get the feeling the universe is trying to take something from me that I don't need. And here I am, I'm holding on to it for dear life. Like, well, I've had it so long. Why would I want to get rid of it? And then when I get rid of it, I feel so much freer. It makes a big difference. So you may find at different intervals this year, it's a little easier to give up certain things we don't need. Say you have some real anger towards somebody in your life from way back. You may find that Pluto's trying to pull it out of you, to take it out of you. It doesn't mean you have to forgive the person, but if you can, you don't have to forget it. But maybe you do need to just let go of it. So to me, it's a fascinating year. I'm real excited about 2025. It's actually why I was really, when they asked me if I wanted to do the talk, I said, yeah, when do you need me? So, because I knew how exciting this year is. The sixth portal that I wanted to talk about is Neptune. Neptune is a spiritual giant. Carl Jung talked about a collective unconscious. I'm sure you probably heard the term. Edgar Cayce, he talked about the Akashic record, where every thought that's ever been thought is stored. You know how on a computer you store things up in the cloud? Well, like with the collective unconscious or the Akashic record, it's all these symbols, all these ideas, all these cultures, where they're up there, where they're like in this collective of some sort. Neptune is how we tap into it. If you're good at interpreting symbols, I know some of you interpret runes. Some of you interpret planet signs and houses, like I do. Some of you are tarot readers. Maybe there's some other format you like to use. The symbols that can be interpreted through Neptune this year are going to be really interesting. Neptune went into Pisces in 2012 for a 14-year cycle. Neptune spends 14 years in a sign. The last time Neptune was in Aries was 1861 through 1874. It's coming back into Aries April 30th, 2025, and through October 21st, 2025 this year. But then it will return October 26, 2026. The point I'm going to make here, Neptune has been downloading more intuition into the planet for 14 years through Neptune and Pisces. Neptune's home sign is Pisces. It hadn't been in that sign in a long time. It really influenced a lot of the artists like Impressionists back in the 19th century. So it comes back in 2012 in a modern time period, flooding more right brain energy into people, healing energy. So what's going to happen when Neptune goes into Aries, a fire sign, just like Saturn going into Aries this year? I called it bold intuition. You need to be bold with it. Don't back away from it. If you get a intuitive idea, you could be right on the money with it. When I invented that past life chart in 2000, I'll tell you what happened. Right as it was happening, my left brain said, no, don't go there. My right brain said, it's real, do it. Then my left brain would go, try to talk me out of it. No, it was just being real analytical about it. You've been a traditional astrologer for all these years, up to 2000. Why would you want to take a chance like this? And the right brain said, you got to do this. It's real. So I went with it. Neptune in Aries is like taking it could be a creative risk of some kind. You don't have to bet the whole farm on something if you're not sure about it. But if it's pretty safe for you to take a risk, maybe even if it isn't, you may be tempted to do it anyway. This is not a great year to be a world leader. Why? they're going to have a heck of a time if they try to push a certain kind of platform. You may find that they're backing off and having to rethink it. This is probably around the world, but this is a great year for us. We don't have to be bogged down with all that. This is a year to really enjoy this. You know, Neptune is a shape-shifting planet. You've heard the term shape-shifting. I first came across that years ago when I was studying Native American cultures about the ability to shapeshift, how they would do that. Sometimes you may find that it's not like you're taking on a new identity, but your imagination is shapeshifting and taking you somewhere else. That could actually happen under Neptune and Aries. It's a very powerful creative cycle. If you're worried about outcomes of situations, it doesn't mean you shouldn't put your best foot forward in trying to make it happen. But at the same time, there's certain days or weeks you just might have to be patient with it in some ways. So what I would just say is, you can tell from what I'm saying that I'm trying to cover tonight, this year is loaded. It's a bit wild. You know, if you don't feel like you're normal when you look at other people, enjoy it. you know, you don't have to fit into the culture the way it's set up. I'm not sure I do. I mean, when I first got into astrology, it wasn't really widely accepted. It took a while before I noticed a lot more different sorts of people were coming in, wanting me to do charts for them. And this is just a year to experiment with different types of creativity in the way I would look at this. I've everything I've looked at, the ones I've talked about tonight, the main thing about them is, if you think positive enough, you could really get some results this year. We're human. Sometimes you're going to have a gloomy day. Somebody might just get you pretty upset, or something didn't go right. Maybe you're on your way somewhere and you got a flat tire and you had to call AAA. I mean, things happen, right? But basically, if you're trying to manifest something, if you got a strong enough intention, it will fly this year. I don't think I'm exaggerating, because of the amount of, you could say, energy going to push it this particular year. These are really upbeat, pretty much upbeat cycles. If you find you feel overwhelmed certain days or for a week, you may have to just back off. I'll tell you the nice thing about Pluto and Aquarius, the reason why I call it the ally. Aquarius can be mental detachment, objectivity. And I notice sometimes if I'm too into something, I have to back off, whether it's go for a walk or just go out to eat, or you know what I mean, go for a drive, just do something, just do something to get you away from it, because it won't take long to come right back again. These energies are there to pull you back in. Some years I wondered, they just seemed harder to just find that creative impulse. This is not one of those years. I would encourage you to, if you've got an idea, just don't give up on it. If you got something on the back burner, you'll probably find a particular month where you could just have it manifest. So if you have a legal problem and you're looking for a legal remedy to it, maybe you're waiting for the decision to be made, try not to worry too much. just try to think positive as much as you can. You can attract what you want in this particular year magnetically, like I've never seen before. Um, I've been doing this a long time, 50 years. I can't believe it. I'll tell you, I may not be here at the end of the Pluto in Aquarius cycle, but I plan on taking advantage of every day of it because we're breathing air that under this cycle that's really breathtaking. It's really a life-giving. If you're a mentor for somebody, like I am and have been, you may see those people really grow this year in a way that will just make you really, really happy. If you want to be a mentor, let's say, because of the skills you have, it's a year you could really enjoy it. Sharing what you know, the knowledge that you have. Pluto is a legacy planet at the same time. Sometimes people talk about legacies. You may find yourself wanting to leave behind what you know how to do to other people. I've been doing that. And I'll tell you, I'm taking great joy in taking on some younger people and just watching them excel and just encouraging them. When I teach astrology, maybe you've had this experience if you're teaching something. I don't tell them to do it the way I do it. I encourage them to experiment, to take it in whatever direction they want to go with it. And this is the kind of year I would definitely encourage people in that kind of way to take it in the direction that they need to go in. I taught a woman for 4 years over the phone a while back that lived in the Middle East part of the year, and she lived in Atlanta part of the year. She stayed with me for 4 years, and she liked all kinds of astrology. She liked Vedic astrology. She liked to do different techniques, and I said, that's fine. If you feel it will make it work, if you know how to make it work, if you know how to use it, I use the tools that work for me. And I always encourage people to use the ones that work for them. So if you're an artist, a musician, anything that you enjoy doing, if you like the work you're doing and you work 9 to 5, that's fine too. I'll tell you something else about that North Node cycle that's going to start on the 11th. It produces vision quests. It really does. If you were to go, say, take some time and to yourself, you don't even have to go out into the woods for 3 days. This could actually happen to you while you're on a job. It could suddenly manifest that you need to take a break. And there's something coming into you, a different kind of energy, like a little drops of mercy, a little drops from the universe. You'll just find that there's something happening there, a different kinds of experience. I remember when I took LSD in the 1970s and I would go to music concerts. Man, I felt like I was in an alternative reality. And but you don't have to do that. You probably know that. But this is a vision quest node of the moon, the North Node in Pisces. It's special. It really is. You can have experiences like you can have all kinds of different experiences under this particular cycle. So I just wanted to emphasize that as well. So I guess I've hit that time. I know we were going to have some questions and answers at some point.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here with you, Bernie, and thank you for all that. But I'm not going to let you off that easy because I want you, if you could kind of, we talked about a lot of things, We talked about some major events that need to be watched out for. If you could kind of pull that together here just for maybe 5 minutes and say, so again, in this year, look out for this time, this time, this time, and then the things that we as personal can develop with.
Sure. I would just say like this to summarize in these last 5 minutes. Remember this: Pluto emerging this year early on. If you're trying to work on yourself in some way, say there's something like a past life influence. I've worked a lot with past life patterns with clients, and in books I've written, the same thing. Even a new one right now we're writing. Sometimes they're hanging on. They're in our cellular memory. They came in with us. It doesn't mean we're bad people. We just brought in some baggage. And Pluto in this cycle is bringing it out of us. You don't necessarily have to obsess over it. Sometimes if you just go on and stay, let's just say, go on and do your thing the way you do it every day, it could just get lifted from you. You may just sense something is being taken from you. So if you need to accelerate it because somebody can help you with that, that's terrific. Sometimes we're working on something that's been over several lifetimes. I have this book, The Seed of the Soul by Gary Zukav. There's one thing in here there he said I totally agreed with. He said, say you've had 6 different lifetimes and you've had the same pattern come up. If you just deal with it in the current life, it erases them all. And that could be going on right now. This is an intense cycle with Pluto and Aquarius. So I just wanted to mention that. You don't have to get too perfect under the North Node in Pisces Virgo cycle. Chances are you're doing well in the world. You've done a good job on what you're doing. We all get a bit analytical sometimes. We just want to make it a little bit more perfect. Well, sometimes you have to know when to stop because you're going to be happier. This is a year to celebrate. I mean, this is a big year to manifest your dreams. Or if you just want to be a person that doesn't even care about those dreams, just want to have a stable life, you don't need all this stuff, do that. You're going to be happier anyway because of these cycles. They're really giving kind of cycles. There's a lot of healing energy in them. There are business cycles in this. You're getting quite a combination here of these cycles. So for business success, you can expand a business, or you can learn how to maybe just tweak it. Maybe there's something in it that's bogging you down. You need to eliminate it to make it flow better. So you'll probably come across that at different times this year, more than likely. There's more than one cycle that can bring up the same thing. So that's what's interesting about astrology. You may have a couple of them doing the same thing. The node one is very intuitive. North Node in Pisces. So is that Neptune one. It's a powerhouse that starts up in, I think I said July. I have to keep these dates straight. I'm sorry, April, the end of April through October 21st. That's a big one too, to just get a deeper intuition. If you're trying to develop your intuition more, it's a beautiful year to do that. Trust your intuition. That's another thing. Just have faith in it. Sometimes, when I first got into a lot of the New Age stuff, people would talk about a rebirth, like it's just a joyful experience. I tell you, there's times where I just wanted to throw a plate against the wall, let out a primal scream, because sometimes they're intense, don't you think? When you go through something like that, maybe it's an adverse thing that actually brings you into that rebirth. It's nothing to worry about, though, because once you have that rebirth, would you trade it, though, for anything? I wouldn't, because you just feel stronger. It's an empowering year in so many ways. It's a year to celebrate your soul wants you to celebrate. Your soul wants to come closer. It will come closer, even if it has to do it through dreams while you're asleep, while your conscious mind is shut off. It's going to find a way to let you know it's there at different intervals this year. So that's how I probably summarize it quickly. Is that good?
Yeah, that was pretty good. I mean, because you said so much, and I was like, and I can relate to the individual moments, but a lot of times I'm like, at the end of it, I'm like, so what is it? What do I need to do? And it reminded me of something that is definitely happened in my life, and then I like that you bring out 2025 is happening that way. I'll say this very briefly: is that I worked so hard to find the metaphysical thing, or what am I? Where do I fit in all this? And I learned some things. And so then I was like, well, I still don't quite know, and so I let it be for a while. And I like that I don't have to go into 2025 with, I've got to find it again. I got to find it. It's coming. It's here. Yeah, I mean, I'm doing it right at this moment. And your book, the name of your book is?
Oh, yeah. Astrology's Magical Nodes of the Moon. Nodes of the Moon.
Okay.
Yes. It got released August 1st, but it got pre-ordered on Amazon, so it's out there now. It's
okay. Is that the one that you offered to us for the raffle tonight?
I did the Sun Signs and Past Lives.
Okay, Sun Signs and Past Lives.
Really interesting, also. So,
and I wanted to mention that to wrap up your talk, and I want to thank you. I want to end that with that. I think we're going to wrap it up now. Thank you so much, Bernie, for being with us tonight. And if everybody'd like to give another hand to Bernie and say thank you, it'd be wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Truly have a Happy New Year, everyone. To you, Bernie, thank you so much for your time. And everybody, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
That's all I heard about this year. We can make it happy.
Yeah.
And I heard such positive things tonight, and thank you all for being here.